Welcome to podcast number 2. My name is Amrit,
My name is Teja.
and today we have.
John, hi. Hey, how's it going?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your major, your year, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm currently at my fourth year at Maryland. I say this particularly because I'm doing the BS-MS program, the Master's Bachelor's, but instead of in 5 years, I'm doing it in 4 with a couple of my friends. Technically, I am a master's student. I'm a CS major, but I graduated with a bachelor's in math and CS as well. And I'm sorry, I joined Bitcamp my freshman year back in 2018. I actually wanted to join because a couple of my older high school buddies helped organize previous iterations of Bitcamp when I was still in high school. Myself included, we went to one of their Bitcamp iterations and we thought it was really fun. And it was kind of crazy that people only 2 or 3 years older than me could host something as such a big a venue as Xfinity Center. So in the context of Bitcamp, I was the Bitcamp 2020, one of the 2 executive directors, my co-being Justin Becker, who has now graduated and moved on to Seattle.
You mentioned, you said you were a director, right? Your second year, sophomore year. So how did you go from the jump from being, an organizer all the way to suddenly being, a co-exec?
It was an interesting jump. Executive directors before me were Annie and Claudia. As a freshman, when you come into an org, you think everyone's older than you. Annie at the time was a sophomore as well. So she had gone through the exact same thing as me, but I didn't know that at the time. So I thought she was a senior, junior, whatever. When she reached out to me after Bitcamp 2019, I had a lot of questions. And a lot of it is mostly stemming from am I qualified? Am I able to handle this one's responsibility? It's daunting. It's quite daunting. And so the hardest part is coming to terms with yeah, I could probably take it. At the end of the day, it's just a student organization. We're here to host an event and make sure that organizers are having fun.
And what would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned from your year of directing as co-exec?
Aside from the obvious, I guess we can talk about COVID in a bit. On the positive side, I think I learned that, and ideally the ideal crew is a group of people who are all great leaders that become good friends. Tugging this fine line between friendship and also what's best for your friends or what's best for the org. It's not easy, and it's also not really clear what the correct answer is all the time. So you just kind of have to make a decision and then commit to it. That's kind of vague. I learned that it's just organizing in these large events. It's really just about creating experiences for your organizers, right? It doesn't need to go perfectly. It doesn't need to, go without a hitch day of. Actually, fires are kind of nice because when organizers come together and try to figure out the solutions in the chaos, that's how they form these lifelong, maybe not lifelong, but very good memories, right? And that's why they come back.
Obviously, that year was overwhelmed with COVID. So can you tell us a little bit about how COVID factored into Bitcamp, and especially how the decision was, to have to cancel Bitcamp at the end?
Yeah, definitely. We actually didn't really think too much of it. I think it first kind of hit the news in December, winter break. And at the time we were oh, whatever, that's it's in Asia. Probably won't come here. I think Annie reached out to me in January, and she was hey, by the way, February. And she was hey, by the way, COVID is a thing. Maybe you guys should consider having hand sanitizer at the event, or I don't know, some wipes to offer to hackers. And we're oh, true, we should probably buy that. And that was the first time we really thought oh wow, this thing could kind of be an inconvenience to us. And but that was already mid-February, right? We went home in mid-March. So we kind of pretty much reacted to COVID as alongside the university. So the university was yeah, by the way, we might go online. And then yeah, we may not come back. And then at each of these phases, we were oh, okay, well, if we're going online for a little bit, well, we'll just shift Bitcamp back 2 weeks, maybe we'll wait after spring break a couple weeks, it'll all blow over, and then we can have the event still. Or, oh, we're going online, maybe we can consider an online venue or something. We didn't actually have it ultimately came to a runtime decision when we knew at the very end that Xfinity was not going to host any more large events. University was not going back in person. When all of these factors that are completely out of control were determined, that's when we as a directing team came together a couple days before spring break. And we were well, our options are, A, we host the event somehow. A, we postpone the event and hope that we can host it later, maybe after COVID ends in a month. That's what we were thinking at the time. Or B, we can, cancel it. Or C, we can maybe make it go online, right? We can maybe pivot very quickly in the next 2 or 3 weeks. and go online. And with these three ideas, we decided that the best thing was to cancel. Just it really hit me, right? Like we did as a team everything right, and yet we weren't able to put on the event. And it was for a reason entirely out of our control, right? So when life hits you with these like, hey, haha, you can't have what you know, I don't want to say deserve, but we're planning to get. How are you going to cope with that? How are you going to kind of adjust and bounce back?
So Dunvi mentioned like last week that that you were one of the one of the few people remaining that actually had an in-person experience with Bitcamp. So I guess following up on what we had in our last podcast, what advice do you have for like new hackers, people who don't have any experience with in-person activities, transitioning back from virtual?
See, this is a tough question because like I was also a freshman when I was organizing Bitcamp my first time, the last in-person event, right? So I did not have much vision. I was just I was given a task. Hey, you know, put up signage. All right, I'm putting up signage. Hey, drive the U-Haul. Okay, I'm gonna drive the U-Haul. I like being directed around in the moment. That was much easier, I think, more fun. I think for hackers in general, or just anyone entering Xfinity, it's very difficult to figure out how to get to the hacking floor because it's not very clear when you go through like the big main front steps of Testudo how you get down into like the actual ring. Like I guess my advice is just to follow the signage or let's see if you can find the signage. Like it's also like taped to the wall. I really don't like that. Like when we have signage, we always tape it to the wall, and so it's really hard to see it because like the Xfinity hallways are so big. Also to follow the schedule. I think we have hopefully our app is up and running. Yes, our app will be up. Our app will be up and running and will be good. And like we give different rooms different names, which is a good thing for us, but can be bad because we'll be like, oh, it's in the treehouse, and then people will be like, I don't know where the treehouse is. And then as an organizer, if it's your first time at Xfinity as well, you'll be like, I don't really know where the treehouse is either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be lost. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
And following up on like advice and stuff like that, what would you say is your like biggest piece of advice for like another sophomore that takes up a role as a co-exec for Bitcamp in the future?
I think, and this is something that I came to terms with a little later in my executive career, if you will, but you should have fun with it, right? It's not like, it is a big responsibility, but it's also a very unique experience. They give you the bank account, they give you like all the passwords, they give you, ability to choose whoever you want to lead, and then below that a bunch like, a team of 80 large, 100 large, you can make it 150 large if you wanted to. You change everything. Yeah, you get to pick.
That's it for week 2 for Bitcamp podcast. See you all again next week.
Oh, is there a camera?
There's a camera here.